All right, so we want to go over the previous stuff really quick, right? So Nate stepping down is the first thing on the thing there. I'm pretty sure everybody knows about that, but anything else? What do we want to say about that, guys?
Yeah.
What else you guys want to? I mean,
That's why
Nate
number
is
2 happened.
Yeah, Nate is no longer has decided to step away from esports pretty much altogether. So is no longer there.
Um,
So
I guess one
new
thing we could
leadership. Go
add
ahead. Yeah,
real
go ahead. Go ahead.
fast is
Yeah.
when we say Nate, we don't mean Nathan Stahl, who we were joking
Yeah,
about.
that's coming up.
Some of you are legitimately new to this, so Nate
Yeah,
Thompson
sorry.
was one of the founding members of IEN and served as the executive director, and he has stepped away entirely from esports, and that's resulted in a lot of the people who used to be various members of like the staff and former title runners and advisory board members, stuff like that. Some of those people have stepped up and formed a new board of directors with what Nate left us, and we've been working through that and trying to make it a seamless transition for all of you.
Yeah. So new leadership structure. Um, do we want to go ahead and what the board is there now?
Yeah.
So I guess we can introduce ourselves, the new board members now. Ben Underwood. I guess somehow I got dumped president on me. Um, so from INDLS is where I currently am at right now. Okay.
Uh, And I'm Nick Parcell at Greensburg Junior High. I'm the vice president.
I'm Dylan Gentilcore. I was formerly at Carmel, founded that program, and was one of the founding members with Ben and John Robertson, Nate Thompson of IEN, and now I'm at the University of Wisconsin Rivers Falls.
Nathan Stahl, currently at KV, been here for 6 years, been doing esports for 4, and I'm currently on the board of directors and the treasurer for IEN.
Yeah, I'm Joe Wilhelm. I'm at Snyder. I'm a generic board member, but I'm also the registered agent. So, like, I kind of handle a lot of the interactions with legal paperwork and stuff like that.
Okay. I think that's everybody, right?
Title
we have
runners.
we have title runners, yes. So I think the other we can get. Let's just go through and say who's title runners for each things. Um, I can start off again too if you want me to. So title runner for Valorant and Fortnite.
I am the title runner for the middle school Rocket League and middle school Knockout City, and also am helping out with Unified Rocket League.
Joe, are you the title runner for League of Legends now? Is that what we decided?
Yeah, I think so. Yep, and you're doing Smash.
Okay, yeah, so I'm the title runner for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate.
Yep, I'm doing League.
And then I'm handling chess and Rocket League.
And we also do have Kristen Van Leer, who is still stepping up to run Tetris. She was initially part of the new board, but voluntarily stepped down last night at our board meeting. And then Drew Rhoda is heading up as a title runner for iRacing. Title runners, for those of you who just want to have some clarification on why we're doing this, those are people that you can generally go to as experts on that game and how it's being managed within the league. However, feel free to talk to anyone in the board of directors, and we'll put you in touch with someone who can definitely answer any of your questions or concerns.
I think Drew's here, right? Too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
he'll be talking about iRacing a little bit later.
Okay. So you'll
Hey,
meet Drew.
howdy y'all. I'm here. My name's
There.
Drew, and I guess I'm the title runner. I wasn't quite sure what the title is, so it's good to have a name.
The title for your title is title runner. We have the bylaws and the general rules linked in here as well that you guys can grab. I don't know if we want to say much about those. I mean, we went over them last time. Definitely take a look at those, though, guys. If you have any questions on those, please let us know. Those are kind of being revamped because obviously we had to work on revamping all that stuff this summer and the beginning of the school year here. We also have the charters in there as well. I don't know if anybody wants to. Do we have that later in the actual thing or not?
No,
No,
just
a
making
reminder
sure
there, yeah.
that they're due September 23rd. So make sure you get those submitted to the Google form. It's going to get you on your email on our email list and just charter your school overall in IEN.
Yeah. Fall registration, we talked about that. Obviously, we're going to talk a lot about that right now. I think we covered Minecraft and how we weren't going to do competitions currently. I think we're looking in. I think Nick, are you looking into some stuff? And I'm not sure if that's on the board down or the actual agenda. Do you want to talk a little bit really fast about where you're at with that?
Just I'm working with a group that could run competitive Minecraft for us. They have a couple different options. I'm currently testing some of those things and going through a season with them just to see how it's going to work, to see if that's something that we want to pursue in the future.
And then we went over tournament titles. Obviously, I'm hoping everybody knows what that is now because we're getting ready to fully go next week. So, and then we talked about the new change in Smash with the crew battles as well. So that is from last time. So this time, meeting norms. Do you want to talk about
Okay.
that in there, Nick?
Yep. For new business, just going over some meeting norms. Usually when we meet, at least at my school, we like to kind of talk about kind of how everything should work when we have a meeting. First off, we'd like to respect everyone's time by starting on time. Obviously, we started a little bit late tonight. We were having some technical difficulties, but we're going to work on that and fix that for the future. Also, as we're having a meeting, we always want to have one conversation going on at a time. So it's best to have your microphone on mute unless you need to speak up. And if you have any questions or any comments or anything like that, please post in chat. And we will be watching chat to make sure that we can answer any of those questions. And then also always look towards positive action. I mean, obviously, as a group of coaches, we're always looking at what we've done and how we can improve that. But we want to look at what we've done and look at it positively and say, okay, we did that. Let's move forward. Let's fix it. Let's make things better. And then also we want to keep in mind that everyone is responsible for upholding those norms. It's not like there's going to be a teacher in the corner saying, you know, you're doing a good job, you're doing a bad job. All of us participate in the norms, and all of us are responsible for doing that. Okay, just a couple general ideas, general rules for how we do that. Okay, moving on. Next, welcoming new schools. There are many of you here tonight. I'm not going to give out individual shout outs that many of you are from new schools. Awesome. Welcome. We're glad that you're here. We are growing. IEN is growing. As you can see there, we have 55 high schools total that are signed up for fall competition. We have 10 middle schools that are signed up for fall competition. That's awesome. That is, I think, a little bit of a growth from last year. And so welcome. And hey, you are all awesome. And then moving on, Discord roles. I was going to talk real quick about Discord roles. Let me see. I am not allowed to share my screen. So if one of you want to share your screen, Nathan.
Me neither. I can't either.
And if not, hey, we have grace. We're, like we've talked about before, we're a new group of board members. We are learning these things as we go. If you pop down, if you look in the Discord right now, by the way, it's important that everyone's in Discord. If you go down to where it says welcome, you see right underneath, pretty close underneath announcements, you'll see a section that says role selection. There's a couple of buttons in there. You as a coach, here we go. Yep, you can see those blue and green buttons. You as a coach should go in there, and also all of your assistant coaches, anyone that has access to Discord, go in there and click any of those roles that apply to you. You can click more than one. So let's say you coach Valorant and League of Legends, click both of them. If you're a director, which you probably are, and you do high school, do school director and ISIN. Or if you're the middle school director, do IMSIN and school director. This is just going to help us communicate with you. It's going to make things a lot simpler as we move forward with better communication.
I think it'll also. I had a lot of people asking me questions and sending me messages of like, "Hey, how do I find who the coach is, like the Rocket League coach for Snyder or whatever?" And that way, you could ping like at Rocket League coaches and say, "Who's the coach for Snyder?" So that way, if they chose the thing, the actual role, they would get a ping, and then they could be like, "Oh, hey, yeah, I'm the coach for Snyder for Rocket League." So that should help a little bit finding those coaches because we understand. Certain schools have 4 or 5 coaches. So, yeah, it's under that welcome section. Yep. Okay. Anything else on Discord rules? Who's covering schedules?
That would be me.
Okay.
Second here. Okay, so all schedules are now live on UGC. You may have noticed that, if you were signed up for League of Legends, those schedules have been merged. And so we merged leagues based on the number of teams that are put into that league. So since we only had like 4 varsity teams across a certain division and one across another division, we merged all those all up to varsity and then all down to club to cover that. Same thing with some of our JV titles in the A or the AA and single A divisions. We merged those as well, just because it wouldn't be fun playing the same team every other week. We want to make sure you're going up against a mass variety of opponents across the season, right? So that's why we did that. First thing to cover is that the times on UGC. So when you're looking at our hub, and I can pull that up really quick. Share here.
Doesn't matter how much we work on times.
Yeah, times on UGC are not going to show up the greatest, right? So if we're on the hub page, for me, it says 4 p.m. CDT for the matches, right? If you're in Eastern time zone, it may say 6 p.m. Eastern. That's not correct. It's always good to remember that our default start time is 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Central, right? So if you see something on UGC that looks off, just go by the default start time or the start time that you negotiated with the other coach, right? Because we're always up for negotiating times with other coaches based on schedules. So don't worry about the times on UGC. The other thing is we already covered that. Follow the 5 p.m. 4 p.m. And then middle school, make sure you're following the 4:30 p.m. Eastern or the 3:30 p.m. Eastern, right? Someone had mentioned, and we can kind of go over this real quick, of how to do matches or how to do your match chat. If you go into your division, so let's just go into AAA Valorant here, and you go to the schedule, and let's say this was my match, Ben Davis versus JHS Valorant. I don't have a team here, but over on the right here, there would be a match chat where you could type in and type to your opponent. That's not going to send them an email or anything. You'd have to come back here and check it periodically to find out if you do have it. There is browser notifications available. So if you have your browser notifications turned on your desktop, it will push a notification to you. But your options for contacting your opponent are through here or through Discord. And I may have jumped ahead there on our agenda, but just kind of we're already in there. So who had coach contact and procedures? Was that Joe? Were you doing that or?
I can, or Dylan, either way. So there's no one-stop shop for communication, right? Unfortunately. So we have Discord as a communication tool. We have UGC as a communication tool. We also have the email list, and we'll publish the email list that we have for different coaches and for school directors. Discord is great, except when it's blocked by schools. UGC isn't blocked by schools, but you don't get notifications unless you're in the browser, and emails are kind of inconvenient because you have to look it up. So, unfortunately, we live in a world where there's not one real solution. Our suggestion is Discord is a great place to start if you see that they're on Discord, because people get notifications there. If you see that the person you're trying to connect with isn't on Discord, you know UGC is there and they have access to it. And if you don't hear from either of those, then you can resort to email. So that's kind of what we do. There isn't necessarily a right or wrong way to go about communication, but always err on over communicating. And communicating early, I think, is the biggest thing. Like your schedules are live now. So if you know at week 5 you're going to have a conflict, you can communicate now and have plenty of time to connect with that other coach. So that's the biggest thing. Communicating early and communicating in a way that you can reach people. In line with that, we want to make that easy to do. So we want to suggest naming conventions for Discord and for UGC. So like part of this is for us, part of it is for you. It's hard to see who is who in Discord a lot if you don't have a tag that has your school name. So put a tag out front would be good, and make sure that like it's a name that we can recognize and is easily legible. For UGC, and we'll publish some documentation on this too. Make sure that your school name is part of your team name. It's hard to reach out to people on Discord or on email just by looking at a name on UGC that doesn't have a school title in it. So, I mean, abbreviations are okay if they're super obvious abbreviations. But if it's not like something that's very, very apparent. Just type out your school name in the team name. It's also more helpful for us and for you as coaches than for other coaches, but varsity JV club, using that in your name as well. Colors are cool. You can use a color as a secondary name, but putting varsity JV and club in that roster title for the team helps a lot on the back end of making sure everyone's signed up with where they're supposed to go.
And I would add on to that our two names that are on screen right now are really great examples of options we would like to see all schools adopt on a regular basis. So Kankakee Valley, it's super clear that this is their SSBU roster, which is fine, and that it's their varsity roster. However, on the Hobart High School side, they just put that they're varsity. That's also fine because it's within the SSBU
Smash.
division.
Yeah.
So the nomenclature that includes like an abbreviation or the title of the game is purely optional. The way that Nathan's done it here with his team is really acceptable and clear and doesn't take up a ton of space. Or you could go the route that Hobart did with their naming convention, which is what I typically did at Carmel. I just called all my rosters Carmel High School Varsity, Carmel High School Junior Varsity, Carmel High School Club, and then I just had it in the system where, it tells me that's a Valorant or a Rocket League roster. So both are totally fine, but please try to, as much as possible, not rely on acronyms. INDLS, with Ben, that's a little
Yeah,
bit
if you want me to write
different
that, if you want to write that whole thing out, I can.
We're not
UGC
really
does have a character
confuse-
limit, by the way. There is a character limit on UGC, so
We're not going to confuse INDLS with any other
With
school,
anything
but
else,
some
yeah.
schools are abbreviating things like SHS, which that's very difficult for us, right? Is that Salem High School?
be-
Is that Southport
could be-
High School? It could
Yeah.
be a number of schools within the state that go by the acronym SHS. So
Right.
just that's one with 3 really common letters I thought I could point out and make an example of. So keep that in mind. Try to avoid acronyms at all possible. And then, yeah, for the Discord naming scheme, please use like a bracket. Put your high school name in there. It could be like Joe has his, which is Snyder HS. It could be the abbreviation like INDLS, as long as that's pretty unique. Or you can just put like the first part of the school district, like Kankakee Valley or Greensburg, like Nick and Nathan have done. So there are a lot of different ways that you could do it, but we just want to make it clear as possible when you're trying to find someone to communicate with, or you're trying to figure out who you're even playing this upcoming week, that there's not guesswork involved. And I believe our teams can actually go and rename their roster still in UGC, right?
I believe so, but I have to double check. Don't quote us
Yeah.
on that. So
Yeah.
Yeah, so if Nathan wanted to go in and change that Kankakee Valley varsity Super Smash Brothers team name, I believe he probably could, and it would be reflected in the schedule automatically. But
You can change the name, yes.
yeah,
okay, there we go.
so don't worry if you feel like, oh no, I've trapped myself into a confusing name. You can feel free to go and edit those.
It's in details and then right there on the team name.
Yep, on screen there.
Yeah, and especially like for next year too, because like whenever we have to go through and move rosters when we combine leagues,
Yeah.
like we have to find the same roster, so that gets a little hairy, especially if it's not clear what varsity, JV, and club are. So that's why, in particular, like some of those things are important too.
All right, I'm gonna jump into iRacing now. Drew's ready.
Hey, howdy, all. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Cool. My name is Drew. I was at Portage High School last year. We did iRacing kind of as a test a little bit to see how it would work under the Indiana Esports Network. And this year we are set to do a full schedule of races. So I'm really looking forward to it. iRacing is kind of an interesting activity because I would say for most people that do esports or esports coaches, you might not have a ton of experience with a racing sim, and iRacing is pretty unforgiving in that respect. So we do handle things a little bit differently with races. First and foremost, everything is handled through the sim as far as point scoring, scheduling of races, how does quality work, how does practice work, how does the race work, and it's a bunch of really complicated rules. We're going to talk about that in our meeting tomorrow. There's no race scheduled tomorrow, just an opportunity for me to talk at you a little bit, and then we'll go ahead and open up a practice session in the sim. If your kids or you have time to go ahead and turn some laps just to figure out what's going on, obviously welcome for this week only. It's not a required event. Next week with iRacing, we will have a practice session. It's only practice, no actual race to it. So it'll just be an hour-long practice session. The most important thing for me is getting your audio set up and your sim environment set up, because again, it's weird. And if the kids have iRacing at home, then they kind of have some familiarity with it. My experience from last year was that many kids didn't have iRacing at home. And so that made like the days even more stressful to try and get the sim set up and run a race when the kids like didn't have the steering wheel plugged in and didn't have the brake pedal on the right button. So all of that to say, this week is meeting and optional practice. Next week is a required practice, just so we can double check through and make sure that yes, for me, you can make the car drive and stop, but also that we've got the headsets running, and it should be good. The whatever, I think it's probably race week, so actual week 1 or maybe it's 2. I don't remember the dates. I'll talk about it tomorrow off the top of my head. There'll be an actual practice race weekend that will score points, but I'll scrub those points from the season once we finish the race. So let's call that preseason testing. And again, just an opportunity. There are some very experienced kids in the league that, frankly, are far better than I am at making the car go around the fake track. And those guys don't need to practice. But for all of us to learn how we do iRacing, unlike other titles like iRacing, you could be in last place and take out the guy that's in first place accidentally, and people get really unhappy when that happens. So any attempt that we can do to try and smooth out those rough edges. So I saw a couple questions. One question in the Discord that just said, "Hey, what's going on for tomorrow?" The answer is iRacing meeting, and that's a Google Meet. We'll do that real quick, and then we'll open up a practice session. The week after that, practice session only. And then the first official week of racing is going to be a practice race. We will only have 4 races in the fall season this year. If I learned anything from last year, it was the slower we can go to make sure everybody's on the same page, probably the better racing will be later on the year. We feel like we're investing for the month of May in iRacing and not necessarily for Christmas break. So for us, we want to make sure that we have good, clean racing. It's representative of who we are and what we can do. And we're going to take it nice and slow here and only have 4 races at the beginning. And that's what it is. Like I said, my name's Drew. If you have any questions, I will admit to all of you, I'm not super great at Discord. So if it feels like I'm ignoring anyone because they ask questions, it's because I probably lost something somewhere in some role that I didn't quite understand. So feel free to just reach out or reach out to somebody that does know Discord and they'll reach out and grab me. And I'm looking forward to a great season.
Thanks, Drew.
All right. Tournament title usernames is next on the list here. And I think we can, this is kind of we can chime in. I don't know, Nate, if you want to talk real quick.
Yeah, I can kind of talk.
And then I'll talk about Fortnite.
Pretty much, it's preseason right now. We are missing not too terribly much, just a few schools, few odds and ends here and there. We need usernames for chess. iRacing, I know, is missing some usernames and the different types of controllers they use and different stuff like that. Those Google form registrations are now closed. So you'll need to message each individual title runner to get that updated. We would like to have those done closer to the end of this weekend, before Monday, preferably, for Tetris, because that's running on Monday. So yeah, get that information to us, and then you can talk about Fortnite.
Yeah. So tying in that with Fortnite, yeah, same thing. I've got most of the kids, I think, are starting to pile in. I know you guys know a bunch of you guys sent me a bunch of stuff right at the end, close to 4, between 4 and 5. So I'm still processing a bunch of stuff, putting in the score sheet. But keep an eye on that Fortnite score sheet that I sent out. It's in the Discord on the Fortnite channel, in our IEN Discord there. Check that score sheet to make sure that your kids are on that roster. Give me a little bit time tomorrow. If you sent the names toward the end of the day, I'll be putting more in. But to be in that Fortnite competition, they have to be on that list, and I have to have their name, their school, and their in-game username. So make sure that is on that sheet. But like I said, double check it maybe tomorrow, halfway through the day, and I should have all those names that people sent me processed. And then I will start also after that's done. I will start then going back into the actual Fortnite Discord, and people putting people's names into giving them the roles, the student roles. Make sure for sure though that we talked a little bit about if you were at the Fortnite meeting and then practice run tonight. Make sure they have that naming convention on there so that I can tie them to the score sheet. And so that naming convention and how to do their server nickname and change it is in the announcement channel at the top, or the welcome channel. So make sure they do that for coaches too. If I sent you guys and put you in as a student, send me a DM, just directly message me in Discord and say, hey, you put me as a student. Can you put me as a coach? And if you can, put your guys' names in there too with your school, because then that lets me know better that you're an actual coach. With the Fortnite, I'll try to skim through some of this. I'm not going to go real in depth, just for time's sake. But if you were at the Fortnite thing, I went a lot more in depth with how the process is going to work for Fortnite, and then gave kind of a practice run and talked to your students too. Big changes is currently that I talked about earlier is we were originally going to have 5 kids allowed in each battle royale, the build and the non-build. We currently are having to go to 3, which is kind of sucks for everybody. Just because we had 29 teams sign up, we really had no idea how many teams were going to sign up. This may lead into something like a class system that we have to do for Fortnite if this keeps growing. We'll see what changes throughout this season. That number is probably going to change throughout the season, and I'll keep you guys posted on it. It depends how many schools actually are showing up and how many kids are showing up each week. We'll probably have a better gauge after week 1 and 2. If we can take that back to 4, or up to 4, can we take it back to 5? So that's the big change. I think the only other big change that I posted in the rules is the elimination point change, which was eliminations are now worth 1 point instead of a half a point. So every elimination that a kid gets in each match is worth 1 point. I think the big things that's different with it than most of the other stuff is the times are very strict. That first game, I'm going to open the lobbies at 5 o'clock. I'll post in the Discord channel for the Valorant Discord. Here's the code for the build on this date. Kids have 15 minutes to get into it. So it'll be posted at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and then they have until 5:15. I hit the start button. If they get in, if they can't, technical difficulties, what it is, I can't keep pushing it back. So it'll be at 5:15. We roll that build, Battle Royale. When we're done with that, we take a 5-minute break. I post another one and say, hey, here's the build or the non-build code and I'll put the date with it. And then they have 15 minutes, and I'll say, we'll start it this time. I push the button, and then we roll again. So I think I'm going to post this to you guys too, but I'll tell you guys now, I'm going to probably have your kids, just as a backup, take a screenshot of their placement. They shouldn't have to post that or anything unless I ask for it, because I can pull the scoreboard at the end of the matches, and I can find everybody's eliminations. I can find their placement. We did test something out today. I lost connection on the last game we did, and it kicked me out of it. When I come back in, it won't allow me to come back into the game. And when I go in, it'll say my replay is corrupted, so I can't see it. I'm going to research that by next week. But as a backup plan, I just have your kids, if they're playing in that round, take a screenshot. Tell them to take a screenshot if they can. Hope that's the only time I've ever had that happen, so hopefully that won't happen again. But it was a kind of a nice accident to happen, so I'll look for a backup plan for that. But right now would be your kids taking a screenshot. Trying to think if there's anything else that's major that we need to talk about in that. Make sure your kids for sure have anonymous mode off. I know they won't get points if they have anonymous mode because I don't know who they are. So make sure that's in their settings under privacy or something, I think is what it's under. But they have to have that so I can see their stuff. Is there anything else I'm missing, Nate, Joe, that you can think of that we need to know for Fortnite for sure? Okay. I know, Andrew. You gotta do better, baby, next time. Okay.
Hey Ben.
Yeah.
You might have mentioned it already. I don't know. How are you? How are you keeping track of the score from each teammate? Do we need to send that to you or report it somehow?
No, it's on the score sheet. That score sheet that I sent. Make sure you see that score sheet. That's where you're gonna check their names and everything. If you look at the top of that, it's got a multiple columns. Let me see. I think I still have it up. I don't have it up right now. Yeah, I do. I'm lying. Okay, if you look at that, I can actually share it if you want me to.
I might have to share it for you. 'cause
Okay.
of the
Yeah,
meeting
it's
thing.
just
I'll
the
pull
score
it up.
sheet
Yeah,
one.
go over that real quick. That'd be great.
Yep. I can
Give me
tell you.
just a second.
The actual equations aren't linked in yet, but they will be, and it'll automatically update all the time once I get everybody registered and in there. So yeah, we had some coaches play with us that last one on the practice round. So Andrew's he's talking smack over there because he did good.
Almost got it. Sorry, two-factor. Blessing and a pain.
Yeah. So when he pulls that up, you're going to see that I have it already marked at the top. You're going to see a week 1 build elimination score, another column for a week 1 build placement, and then you're going to see another column after that that's week 1 non-build elimination, and then week 1 build elimination or non-build placement. So when he pulls that up, you'll see at the top there. So you see build 1 in column E there. It's build week 1 elimination. I'll go through, and every kid that's in there, I'll go through and put in their score for their elimination when I look at the scoreboard. So I'll go through. It'll take me a little while. My goal is to for sure by the next Wednesday. So we play this coming Wednesday. By the next Wednesday in the morning, you guys will be able to pull up, look at the score sheet, and you'd see what your kids did from the previous week.
Okay, maybe I'm not understanding. How do you see all of their scores and stuff?
So after, okay, yeah, so that's a good question. So it's really funky. Fortnite is definitely not designed to be an esport. But after the game is over, I have replays that are built into me. Since I did the custom game, I have replays and I have to watch them. But I put it on time. Yeah, I know. Shake your head, Dorian, because it's crazy. I can put it on ×4 speed and just let it play in the background while I'm doing other things. And then when it comes to the end, I can pull up the scoreboard. And it actually tells me every kid's username that's in it, what their placement was, and what their eliminations was. I just take that and I have to manually transfer it over to this. So if we've got 100 kids in there, I've got to do that for the build, and then I got to do it for the non-build. That's why I will still get them done before the next Wednesday. I'm saying it now. I'll do it.
Wow.
But as long as I don't get kicked out. If I get kicked out, it's going to be a problem.
Right.
But then because I can't watch the replay. So, but that's the only way I can't even watch the replay. I can't watch the scoreboard and pull it up even during game. You cannot pull up the scoreboard until the game is actually completely done.
So there's no reporting on our end, but
Correct.
Screenshots and some kind of documentation in case you have a crash or something.
It's just right now it would just be a backup plan for you guys.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that is
otherwise
the same,
I'll take care of everything.
That's the same for every tournament title. You don't have to report scores for placement for chess or Tetris or anything like that. And just to piggyback off what Ben said, check your Tetris score sheet when we get that to you, your chess score sheet, and then eventually the iRacing score sheet. That's going to be, if you're missing usernames and player information, that's where you're going to want to go to see if it's there. If you're not on that sheet, your players aren't fully registered.
I'll answer a question right quick. Jeff, the answer is no. The reason being is if 2 people put in they got 4th place, then I have to go back and then I have to actually then still watch it anyways. So I'm still doing the same thing. I'm still going to have to double check all of those things. Last year I had kids report by screenshotting, and it still took me every bit. Like when I've been testing it, I can go through it and manually just look at the scoreboard and transfer them over way faster than I can do that. I just don't want to have to be up to you guys, and I don't want to have to be up to the students to actually have to even worry about it. I will do it all for you. Just take that screenshot just as a backup. But if everything goes smooth, you will never have to worry about anything, and I'll already be putting the scores in for you, and you'll just see it. You'll also see it. Can you scroll over, Nate, to the other side? Scroll to the right a little bit for us. You'll see at the end of this all week, you'll see down there right there, you're going to see there's a total, and that's their total from everything. And then you're going to see a build total and a non-build total for each kid. It'll automatically just do that for me when I put that in. So you'll be able to say, hey, here's my kid, his total. If he was in both builds and non-builds, you'll see his total. That's eliminations and placement. And then the build total will be his eliminations and placement for builds. And then the same thing for no build and elimination tied together there too. There's 3 scores. So in Fortnite, you can finish first as a build competitor. You can finish first as a non-build competitor, and you can finish first as an overall score competitor. There's kind of 3 champions in that thing. And so for you guys, I know it's a whole harder thing. It's a harder thing for me too, is only having 3 kids in there right now. some of us got 14 plus kids on our Fortnite team. So trying to figure out who you're putting in for your 3 people for builds, and then who you're doing for your 3 for your non-builds, and then what rotation. That's totally up to you guys. But just make sure I will say this really quick about the Fortnite, so I'm not taking up any more time. Make sure you are responsible for only putting your 3 kids in. Make sure they know that, because when I post that code, every kid that's in the Discord in that Fortnite can grab that. So make sure they know that they're not telling other people right then what that code is. So some random person's pop them in, taking up our spots. And then also make sure you don't have 4 people in. The first time when I go, I won't know. There's no way I can monitor that until I go back and look at that replay, right? I'll look at that score and I'll be like, hey, I just put in 4 things for Dorian's team. And now you had 4 people and you're only supposed to have 3. I'll warn you guys. Basically, I'll say, hey, Dorian, there's a warning. You guys put 4 people in. Make sure you guys are only doing 3. I'll remove the bottom score of that person. The person's your bottom player, and then if it happens a second time, then we'll probably do something like, hey, you guys can't compete the next week, your whole school. So you need to make sure you're only putting 3 things in until we up the thing to 4 or 5, hopefully. There we go. I think I've taken way too much time for Fortnite.
It was needed, though.
Yeah.
Can someone repost the agenda link in the chat?
The thing shouldn't have any editing rights unless somebody changed the form. You should only have commenting rights.
I just changed that back. It said anyone with the link can edit, so it's now set to viewers.
Okay,
so no one
thank
can
you.
edit.
Yeah, I had changed it so that people could edit it. They could, or not edit it. They could actually put notes in.
Yep.
Comments, but so thank you.
Yeah, we can do title rules location real quick. There are a few different places. They are pinned in the relevant Discord channels. So if you haven't been on Discord since the overhaul, there are game-specific categories, and each game within that category has an announcements channel for relevant game announcements. There's a rules and resources channel right under that have the rules documents pinned in all of them. So if you're a Discord person, that's probably the easiest spot. There's also a share folder that we can make sure is pinned as well, and it's gone out in some announcement emails that we've sent. We can make sure Dylan includes it on the next one too, so it's there. But all of them are shared in a single Google Drive folder as well. So those are really the 2 places to check those 2 things. It's the same thing both places, so you don't have to go both. But either the Discord channel or the title rules folder. Nathan just dropped it in chat if you want to grab it there too. But we'll make sure that folder's linked next time an announcement goes out too.
We could throw it in there in the board meeting or in the coach's agenda too on the side if you want to.
Yep. Yeah, we can make sure it's there. And if you have questions about title-specific rules, like we mentioned earlier, if you can't find the title runner or remember who it is, just ping board of directors and we'll either answer it or ping the right person to get you an answer if we're not sure specifically either. Club procedures is next. So the club system, for those of you that aren't familiar, is different from varsity and junior varsity. There is not a set schedule that has gone out. Club is a matchmaking system every week. So what you're going to do every week is go to UGC, find the correct club game that you want to play. So Nathan's showing us the Super Smash Brothers Club that has 30 teams in it this season, which is awesome and terrifying at the same time. At the top, if you go to the Teams tab from Overview, this is where you'll see the checked-in status of teams. And next week, once we're actually ready to start competing, along the right side of this screen, you will see like little blocks for all of the teams that you have entered in this club league. So if you have 1 team, it'll just be there at the top. If you have 3, they'll show up sequentially, one right above another. It'll show you like the players for that team as well. But really importantly, there are 2 buttons that are going to be there. And we'll make a video of this next week when this goes live so you can see it. But there's like a ready check button that you check in to say that you're ready for that week's competition. There's also a leave league button that you probably don't want to press or else you will leave the league. And again, this is on individual leagues. So Nathan, can you go back to the hub real quick? Yep. So on the IEN hub, which if you don't have this bookmark, this is a public-facing page that anybody can find. So you can just go to the URL or find it and pin it and then sign in to get access to whatever you want. It's kind of reorganized a little bit. At the top are those combined leagues. So if you're in your like division and you're like, I can't find my league, it's because we combined them due to numbers and they're at the top. Then there's IMSN, and then we go AAA, AA, single A. Then there's club. So those 4 club leagues are not quite at the bottom because there's unified. But if you're in a club league, those are the 4 buttons there for the 4 relevant games. Once you click one of them, this is the landing page for that individual league. And the teams tab at the top is where you're going to check in and find things. So that's where you need to make sure you're checked in. If it says checked in instead of pending, you're good to go. Now, here's the caveat for that. It does not automatically check you out, and you can check in whenever you want, which is not what we're going for. The idea of the whole matchmaking queue system is on Monday for Valorant. If you're playing Valorant, you check in Monday when your kids are in the lab and you know you're ready to go. You don't check in Friday because the kids told you, yeah, we'll be there. And that's going to cause lots of forfeits because there's kids. So what we're going to do every week when there's a match, like we'll take Valorant on Mondays or Smash Brothers on Wednesdays, doesn't really matter. At 4 p.m. Eastern, we will go in and we will uncheck in every team that's checked in. So do not try to check in your team for club before 4 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Central. If you do, it's going to be cleared out anyway, and you won't get a match. We really want to do this to preserve the idea that you're ready to play when you check in. You know for a fact you're good to go. There should be 0 forfeits for club because the only reason you're checked in is because you know you're good to go. So the check-in window will open at 4 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Central. You have until, we're going to say 4:55 to check in your team. Because then when 4:55 Eastern, 3:55 Central hits, I'm going to be the one to hit the shuffle button, and it's going to generate matches for every team that is checked in. If you don't check in, that's fine. You just don't get a match. You're not playing that week. No problems. It's club. If you check in, you'll get a match. The caveat being, if we have an odd number of teams to check in, we can only generate matches for an even number of teams. So if an odd number of teams check in, then you will have one team that had a bye match. And it should tell you that you have a bye match, but also if you go to the matches tab at the top, or the schedule tab in particular, is probably where you want to be. You can see whatever week the schedule is for that, and you'll be able to say, hey, look, I have a match. Or if your name doesn't show up and you were sure you checked in, then you got the bye. If you're confused about that and you aren't sure, message one of us, ping me in particular. I can go in and look and be like, yep, you were the one that got the bye this week. Even if you get a bye, there are still probably teams that will want to play. Maybe there's a team that didn't get checked in time, or maybe someone will want to play a second match after their club match is finished. That's fine. You're more than welcome to do that. And you shouldn't be getting a bye necessarily at all if there's an even number of teams, but you wouldn't get a bye more than once is the plan. So it doesn't really matter. The students that are still pending on your rosters don't affect UGC at all. So what we want is the rosters to be completed so coaches can see, and so that you know who's on your rosters. But students are not checking in themselves into the queue for UGC. You as the coach are going in and checking your team and saying that they're there.
Technically, there's only one thing that a student can do on UGC, and that is that we do allow your captains of your teams to report scores. So if you do appoint a student captain in your UGC roster, they can go in and report scores, which is another thing we probably should go over tonight. I didn't think about that, guys, of actually reporting match scores. We can do that after this.
Yeah, we can do that real quick after we're done going through club procedures. So the thing with club is there is still the weekly schedule. So like Nathan's on week 1 right now. This will populate the week 1 matches. Those will not disappear for week 2. So when you check in for week 2 and then the queue pops and you go to look for a match, you'll use the drop down to go to week 2 and find the match for that week. So you'll still be able to go back and compare. Oh, look, our opponent this week played this school last week. And you can see all those records within club still as well. There will be standings. We'll try to keep up with standings for club. It'll be a little bit messy maybe with the bye week and adding and dropping them, but we will try to keep up with the standings just like we will for varsity and JV.
Just keep in mind that standings will be dependent on coaches inputting matches. I don't see us chasing down coaches in club to get their scores because it's not really a scored season like JV or varsity is. So standings will be relevant compared to the effort put in by coaches putting matches in.
Yeah. So if you're new to UGC, when you're done with the match, so to find a match under the schedule, you'll see a list of all the matches for that title.
Yeah, I'll go to an actual league here really quick. Give me a second.
And it'll be the same for club or for varsity and JV. But so like you can see matches here. You can see upcoming ones. You can see every single one of them. And you can find them under the matches tab or under the schedule tab. Just depends on how you want to look at it. Every match for every week has its own match page that looks like this. If you are a coach in that match, then you'll see like the chat features and reporting score buttons and all those things. If you're not, you can just kind of still see the generic version of it. Real important on this page is the chat that we talked about. This is the way to reach out to the other team if like Discord and email fail. It's a great way that they will get that message provided they look at it. You can then also report scores on this. So when the date for this match comes up, there'll be a report score button. Then you just type in what the score is, and you can do it based on sets. So Rocket League is best of 5. You report the score. Smash Brothers is best of 2. You report the score. Whatever the set is for that title, you can report right there in UGC, and it will propagate through.
But they're just not seeing that button right now. But that button will be
Correct.
there when the actual match happens.
Yep.
Guys.
It will come up when the match happens. There have been known cases in the past. I don't know if it's going to happen now, where the match time has passed and the button will not show up. If you don't see that report score button, just contact one of us and we can manually go in and enter the score for you, and get all that taken care of. I guess another thing on here, we've never really done reschedules on UGC. Most of it's through communication through the chat or through Discord of actually rescheduling the matches. You can if you want to, but you don't have to. And then the last thing is both schools competing do not have to report. General rule of thumb is just the winner reports, the loser doesn't have to report. Just makes it clear. Both of them can if you want to, if you want to, but you don't have to.
Yeah. Does that make sense there, Carlos, for the Rocket League? There'll be a button on there. You'll be able to click it, and it's best of 5. You'll have one of those options where your team finished. So if you either won 3-0, 3-1, whatever it is. Yep.
So you'll just report every score on every match page.
Yep.
And there's also like feedback that you can give, and that can be useful as well. So when you report the score, it'll say like the other school was on time, the sportsmanship was good, and it's just a little star rating. I mean, that's semi helpful in terms of stuff. I mean, don't like dog another team. Like no matter how often I wanted to just dog Dylan on Carmel last year for doing that, I didn't. So, but it is a helpful piece of feedback for us. If you schedule a time and the team is 20 minutes late every week, then we can go back and look at those feedbacks and be like, hey, okay, we'll have a conversation about this because people's time is important. So that's a feature as well that may be overlooked but is useful. I'm going to have to get on my new Twitter account again, Dylan.
Strike 2 for both of you.
All right. We good to move on from
hub
procedure and match scheduling? Okay. Score reporting. Okay. So last thing on our list here is Extra Life planning. If you're not familiar what Extra Life is, it is a charity platform where streamers or clubs, even people who don't play video games, like they play board games and stuff like that, can schedule an event, whether it be a 12-hour or a 6-hour or a 24-hour, and they basically play games on stream, and people can donate to their favorite Children's Miracle Network hospital, right? So in our case, we're going to do Riley's Children's Hospital in Indianapolis. So what we are going to be doing, we are not sure if it's going to be a 24-hour event or a 48-hour event yet. That's to be determined based on how many schools are interested in doing it. But basically, what we want to do is have schools take different time blocks on a stream and say, okay, KV for a couple hours is going to play Smash Bros. Or Fortnite or Among Us or some, party game or something. That school will take over a time slot for that. They would make their own Extra Life page and they would join IEN's team Extra Life page, right? So the school would be streaming for their own goal amount of money for Riley's Children, but then all the schools that stream collaboratively underneath IEN will have one big goal for the Children's Hospital. So we are going to be pushing out a form. We don't have the form made yet, but we'll get it to you sometime this week before the end of the week. And it's going to ask you things like, hey, are you going to be streaming? Will you be able to do it? Do you need help streaming? Do you need resources to help you stream? How many hours would you like to stream? I can tell you that I've done 24 here at KV. We've done 24-hour live streams for 2 years now. I actually hold like an all-night lock-in for the kids, and we do a 24-hour live stream. And the first time we did it, we raised $1,600, and the second time we did it, we raised $2,400. Most of that being word of mouth from parents and friends and family and corporation staff. So if we all come together as a big group, we could really make a difference for some of these kids in these hospitals. So. Just to kind of get back to the community.
And what hours you want to stream? I can't remember. I think you said that, but
Yeah.
That'll be on there too. That's super important, so we can actually try to fill those time slots. I think if that's it, we'll end there and then take questions. Look at that, 9 o'clock. Look at that, man. That's a record. That's a record.
From Jonathan in UGC, should we be listing actual players for each match, or can they just be on the correct roster for each team?
Not sure
I know I
send.
I'm not. You can go in your UGC thing and click on what your actual starters are. So if I have 7 kids, like I'll use Valorant, if I've got 7 kids listed, you can go in and actually click on what your actual starters are. I also try to usually in team games, I send my roster usually to the other coach each week. So like when I'm playing Valorant, I'll tell them, hey, these are the 5 kids that are playing in varsity. Here's my 5 kids are playing JV.
Yeah, that's a really good practice. I would also say if you look at our screen that we have up right now, Nathan on the Kankakee Valley side of the match screen does have all of his players listed as starters. The assumption is that those players will be starting unless he has a sub that you can also have indicated on the roster page, and he should let the opposing coach know ahead of time that that sub will be playing. So I would try to, as much as possible, have your match lobby screen, like you can go in and double check this yourself, reflect your actual starting roster, make sure that you have subs listed on the roster, and you can be as specific as activating and deactivating starters and subs for each match, but at the very least, let people know if there's a discrepancy between what they're seeing on the match screen and who is actually playing because you're implementing a sub.
Yeah, Shauna, once I get that all set up and I figure out if it's going to go on the IEN or if I'm doing it on the INDLS one, I'll definitely post all that stuff for you, for sure, once I get that all set up. No doubt.
And then, Carrie, if you saw Andrew's comment there, he's absolutely correct. You just have to go in under this little bell notification on UGC, which I've lost the tab now. This little bell here, they'll have a little 1, and they'll say they've been invited to the team name. They just need to click accept, and then they'll go from pending to accepted on your team.
Yeah, that's something you guys could like do in a practice or something.
Yep.
And just to make sure I understand, middle school is different. I just have an account for my team, and none of the kids have to do any of that stuff.
Correct.
So. Coach
Correct.
only. Yep.
Yep. It'll always be that way in the foreseeable future, anyways. I can't say forever, but
yeah.
Who knows what the future holds, right? But any other questions?
Can League of Legends club players play up for varsity?
So you have like a varsity team and then a club team? Is that
well, yeah. So we changed League of Legends in particular.
Right.
There were like 2 JV teams across all divisions. So
did I not respond to that last night? Because I know I talked to you all about it.
Yeah, I was going to say, I know we talked about it. I just don't remember if we responded to that.
I had 70 Discord DMs last night from recruiting. So sorry about that.
But yeah, the answer
is yes.
Yeah. For any other title, though, it is club subs up to JV and JV subs up to varsity.
Correct. And not a double.
Correct. Following the guidelines that if they play a certain number of matches, they are then considered JV or varsity.
League of Legends is just the exception because of how we had to end up doing it.
Yep.
Hey, Ben.
Yep.
I sent you an email with 2 more kids that, for Fortnite.
All right.
They're having total issues getting their accounts at our school and crap. It's dumb. So I've got two user accounts that I have them signed up on.
Okay.
I just wanted to give you a heads up.
Yeah, just keep me posted on whatever it is and email me.
I think
you can either email me
names,
if you DM me in Discord, I'll even get it faster. But either way, it doesn't matter. I'll check both.
Okay, so just add them to the list. And...
Yep.
I might have 10 on Fortnite on that list, but I might only have 3 of them actually playing. So
right, and I get that.
It's
I get that
uncommon.
100%. Yeah. So
It's
I
uncommon.
started with 60 some kids in Fortnite.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and so we had tryouts, and I'm down to 11 high scores and 11 middle scores so
I
tryouts.
I'd love to have tryouts, but that
Yeah.
hasn't happened yet.
And I wish we could make that easier for everybody.
It's kind of hard both ways. You got the pressure of tryouts. I get the pressure of trying to roster a team. But yeah,
Yep.
at least with Fortnite, you can have a max of 5, but you only need
Yeah.
1 really. So
Yeah, our max of 3 right now.
right. Max of 3.
Did you
Okay.
Did you want to answer that question, Nick? Oh, you're already on it.
Well, I think that's good. You guys have a good night. Let the chaos begin.
Yeah.
You too.